bomb disposal technician, Joint Chiefs of Staff Operations Officer, assisted the National Security Team with the campaign plan for the global war on terrorism. He authored the first theater nuclear war plan and served as the Vice Commander of America's largest airborne intelligence wing. Colonel Rob Maness is a true American hero. This is Rob Maness Live.
What if I told you the federal government destroyed a pro-American investment firm where investors didn't lose any money? Straight Path Venture Partners, 7 successful IPOs, private fund, no investor complaints, and 0 losses. Then the SEC stepped in under Chairman Gary Gensler, the same Gensler tied to the Clinton network, the Clinton campaign, who approved payments to that law firm Perkins Coie. They were the folks behind the Steele dossier. And in May of 2022, the SEC shut down Straight Path Ventures overnight. The founders put up $15 million of their own money to fix any alleged issue. The government refused it. A court-appointed receiver took control. Millions in fees were paid out, and investors got back a fraction despite profitable assets. Then came criminal charges in the Southern District of New York, the same jurisdiction that has repeatedly targeted Trump and his allies. These people, Michael Castellero, Brian Martinson, and Fran Linnea, are strong America First supporters, and now they're facing the full weight of that system. This is not justice. Folks, this is a warning.
Folks, welcome back to the Rob Maness Show. It's Truth Thursday again, and we're live on Worldview Tube and X-Space's simulcast. If that clip from Ann Vandersteel hits you the way it hit me, you're already seeing the pattern. The little guy is being robbed by the DOJ and SEC weaponization. That's it. Michael Castellero, Brian Martinson, and Fran Linnea, I almost messed up her name there, launched Straight Path Venture Partners under the Trump administration's pro-growth policies. Their goal was simple: give thousands of mom-and-pop investors real access to high upside pre-IPO shares in companies like Palantir, Airbnb, and many others, not just the billionaires. Well, regular Americans were getting this opportunity. They were positioned for generational wealth, right? As opportunities like the SpaceX IPO were exploding. And then in 2022, as Ann just said, the Biden administration froze the fund. Asset seizures followed, backed by a disputed narrative that shut the entire operation down. The result? Mike Castellero sentenced to 8 to 11 years in prison, along with his partners. This is textbook regulatory lawfare against Trump-aligned voices in finance, and the real victims are who? The everyday American investors who lost things. Lost everything. Joining me live right now is the man at the center of this fight, Michael Castellero, co-founder of Straight Path Venture Partners. Michael, welcome to the show, sir. Thank you for being here. Thanks for being willing to get out here and tell the audience exactly what happened to you. I'm assuming that this program that you all used to set up Straight Path was under the first Trump administration, under their financial programs to give Americans America First type opportunities, right? I mean, what's the deal? What's different about Straight Path that is not the same for an ordinary company that would be doing this kind of work?
We were a private fund. SEC Chair Jay Clayton under President Trump's first term, you're absolutely right, was actually not promoting my industry, but saying that he wanted to facilitate pre-IPO investing to the regular Americans. Mm-hmm. So these transactions have been happening as early, I believe, as 2013. Facebook's the first one that allowed these private stock transactions. But Facebook's not going to take a regular guy sending a $50,000 check. So what Straight Path became as a special purpose vehicle and a private fund was we represented a multitude of investors and were able to buy millions of shares of these companies, and we're able then to have investors under our wing. And you know, in our private placement memorandum, which was about 127 pages long, I believe, you know, we said it 8 or 9 times that you know, we have to mark up the shares a small portion to uh, cover our fees and basically keep the lights on and be able to provide this business.
Mm-hmm.
And we were what's called, under the eyes of the SEC, an exempt reporting advisor. That means everything that they received from us was voluntary.
Okay.
It's even stated in the transcripts from the court on the criminal trial when they brought in the SEC examiner. He basically said, yeah, we're basically sitting here because they gave you everything to build a case against them. And being that we were doing clean business, we were as transparent as anything you could be.
So pre-IPO investing, explain to folks what that is for your normal billionaire types versus the opportunity that you were able to give regular American. What's the difference? The contrast there?
So the way it works is, let's say, Colonel, you worked at Palantir for the past 10 years, and you're living in San Francisco, which we all know is probably the most expensive city in the country.
Mm-hmm.
And you're getting paid a salary of $50, $60, $70, $80,000 a year, but you're a techie, right? And that's your calling, and you know that you keep going through that, you're eventually going to be fine. And then eventually you get to a point where now 5, 10 years pass, and so what happens? You might fall in love, you might want to buy a house, you might want to have a family, right? So you need liquidity. So you have all these shares of these companies, and let's say you needed $3 million, right?
Mm-hmm.
Goldman Sachs wouldn't want that. Wouldn't want those shares and wouldn't want to take private shares for $3 million. So we were helping those people get liquidity on these insiders of these companies, as well as we were also helping the regular mom and pop investor own shares of something that they wouldn't have, that the elites like the Goldmans and the Morgans monopolized for so long, right? And I think my theory is the reason why my business and my industry got shut down as a whole was because the few $1,000,000 that we were making was costing Goldman, Morgan, and all the other bullies on Wall Street billions of dollars in revenue.
So how does that translate? If you're only getting a couple $1 million, why are they losing billions?
Because they would hoard the shares, number one. Number two, then they would take the company public. They're going to charge them $500 million to $1 billion there. Then they're going to go to their other side. They're going to go to their retail side of the business. And now, if you're a client of Goldman Sachs and you only have $10 million with them, they're going to tell you, oh, you want to own shares of Palantir? Sorry, you need to have at least $25 million in an account with us. So now all of a sudden, now they're using it. They're backdooring it that way. They're creating, and they're also keeping for themselves shares of the stock as well that they liquidate and they trade against, and all these other things that probably Ann Vandersteel is better than me at saying, because she knows all about these dark pools and all these other things that she goes into that naked shorting and she knows it in and out.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, that's why I say the few $1 million was making was hurting them so much on their pocket. So what happens with when the big boys, right? When the big boys get hurt by a small guy, they just find a way to squash them like a bug. And that's what Gary Gensler did, ex-CEO of Goldman Sachs.
So he's the chairman of the SEC at the time?
So in 21, when the election was stolen, all of a sudden that's when our problem started.
Yeah.
The end of 21, they wanted us to pay a fine. And I told Brian and Fran, I said, listen, they want their taste. Things have changed. They want their taste. And negotiating of a fine became to now. I still don't know what fine they wanted to impose. but a negotiating of a fine became to a total thievery of my company. And the court-appointed receiver has made over $30 million. There was about $100 million in insolvent shares of companies. The injustice that they just did to the clients at SpaceX, I mean, if you really want to get into the part of actual thievery, so SpaceX just went public recently, and we had about I'd say about $1.2 million to $1.5 million of SpaceX
shares.
$1 million worth cash for this. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Because SpaceX was very hard to come by, so when it came, we knew we had to take the investment, whatever it cost, right?
Yeah.
The court-appointed receiver sold it in November to an undisclosed entity. Suspect. Very suspect, Colonel.
Very suspect.
Because everything else is usually disclosed. Now, she sold the position, the $1.5 million position, she sold it for about $8 million, let's say. She's keeping $7.5 million. No, she's keeping $7.5 million of it and distributing only $500,000. The other $7.5 is going to her fees. Right? We still don't know who the undisclosed entity is. And the real sin is that if she would be holding the stock today, that $1.2 or $1.5 million would probably be north over $20 million.
And who did that $1.2 million belong to? I mean, you guys had it, but who did it belong to?
Our 12 investors or our 11 investors that were in the fund. It's a sin what they've done to these customers. They took our company in the best interest of the customer, and all they're doing is siphoning the money. A receivership is supposed to come in when there's a bankruptcy.
Right. And you weren't bankrupt, right? I mean, you guys were
generating revenue. She's generating the $30 million she's made is pure revenue of companies going public. The government lied and said, the government, when they took our company, they looked at our bank accounts. They didn't look at the brokerage accounts, and because they were too busy. It's unbelievable how Judge Lewis Kaplan allows this to happen. He just doesn't care. The SEC examiner basically lied on an order to take our company, and on a deposition admits that he was just too busy to put it all together. And that's why he deemed us a Ponzi-like scheme. I still don't know what that is.
Really?
It's either you are Ponzi-like. There's never you are, you're not.
Yeah.
Right.
What is that? I mean, I know what a Ponzi scheme is, but what's a Ponzi-like scheme? I mean, I've read enough information. I watched Ann's clips. I'm actually going to use another one, I think, in this show because they're really good. It looks like you guys you had clients. You were taking dollars in. You were doing what you were supposed to do with those dollars. You were actually generating revenue, I believe, and paying out. So that's not a Ponzi scheme.
No, it's like we had 2,200 to 2,400 clients. Not one customer complaint. Not one.
That's my next segment is who are the victims here? Is the big question in the next segment because I'm not seeing it. We keep seeing people on the federal level being convicted of crimes that don't have victims. I always thought that one of the requirements for to be convicted of a crime is there has to be a victim to come testify against you or to be in a murder case. Obviously, the victim's not there to do it, but the forensics testifies against you in the circumstances.
Well, they were able to lure 4. They were able to lure 4 out of 2,200 people.
Wow. Well, we got to take a break. When we come back, let's dive into that a lot more. I'm really interested in who are the victims here. We'll be right back with Mike Castellero of Straight Path. It's incredible. Another weaponization set of victims, and it's everywhere.
Years ago, the United States was stunned by an announcement from war-torn Korea. U.S. Army Private David Hawkins and 20 other prisoners of the communists had become turncoats. They had renounced their own country and disappeared behind Red China's bamboo curtain.
What had you heard?
Well, only what our Chinese captors had told us, how great they were working toward socialism, the great strides that they were taking, bettering the life of the Chinese people who for so many thousands of years had lived a life of oppression under various governments.
Who was the victim?
Me? There's no victim. Me and my two business partners, I guess. There was no. There's no. When the company. So what? Since the company has taken. Since the government took the company away from us, now you could say that the customers are now being victimized by the government, which they took the company in the customer's best interest. They assigned it to somebody that's generated about $20 to $30 million of revenue, and it's not distributing all the customer funds to them. So my customers are right, but they did it in their best interest, right?
So your customers is waiting to get paid something from the government that basically stole your company from you.
Right.
Because they claimed that y'all was. So here's my deal. If it was a Ponzi-like scheme, you know what I'm saying? Why would the government continue on with your business? If it was so wrong, if it was so fraudulent,
right,
why would the government continue on with the business?
Ms. Silk, what Ponzi scheme generates revenue? You tell me.
So what it is, they don't want you playing in the big league. They want you playing T-ball. That's what it is.
Welcome back to the Rob Maness Show. It's Truth Thursday. My guest today is that man right there, Michael Castellero, who is a victim of the DOJ and SEC weaponization, along with his partners in Straight Path. And Michael, exactly who are the types of people that were investing in Straight Path?
95% of our investors were just regular hardworking Americans. I mean, my landscaper in New York, in my house in New York, invested, I think, $30,000. I think he has the shares today. I think it's worth $800,000 in his shares in Palantir. An auto mechanic in Sarasota owned Palantir before it went public with us. He was beyond grateful because last year he was able to pay for his daughter's wedding in the Amalfi Coast in Italy with his Palantir proceeds. He finally chose to sell them for that. He said he would have never done that if it wasn't with his investment in Palantir. Those are the people, those are the stories that the Southern District of New York has actually blocked out. We submitted letters from about 20 to 30 investors that $1 million became about $25 million. And they, you know, the Obama appointed judge just didn't care. He didn't care. He just turned it into paper airplanes and threw it out the window.
And again, normal pre-IPO investors, you have to be what's called, I think it's called accredited. So you have to like bring millions of dollars to the table, right?
To be accredited, your net worth has to be, you have to make over $200,000 a year, or your net worth has to be over $1 million.
Right.
So
go ahead.
And everybody who was below that threshold, we chose not to have them as clients because we didn't want to we don't know when these companies were going to go public. I mean, we were buying Palantir from late 2017 up until 2020 when we went public. It was 4 years of owning these companies. Airbnb from 2018. Some companies like Lyft, we bought 3 or 4 months before it went public, and we got lucky and it went public quickly, and so did Pinterest. But our biggest positions became our biggest positions because we held them for so long. And our constant was, even though we had 11 other funds that got shut down like us, we were the cheapest one out there on the pricing. And that's why we grew so much. We offered the regular American the cheapest price, and I said the money will always come if you build a good business on volume. And that's why we were the busiest. We were doing business with multiple funds, boutique brokerage firms on Wall Street who had no access to these were coming to us. We had about 12 of them that we were dealing with. You know, so we're helping their clients as well achieve the same, because if a regular financial advisor works at a regular boutique firm because he just can't get into the big boys, or doesn't because he has an entrepreneurial spirit, now he has no way to offer these to his clients except by doing it through us. And we facilitated this for them.
So I guess explain to me how your new type of company allowed to be created under the first Trump administration's policies. How does it work? I'm Joe, average investor. I own a home, but I don't have $1 million worth of net worth. But I've got 50 grand that I want to invest in pre-IPOs. How does it work? You guys find the pre-IPO companies and then make a pitch? How does that work?
We find what do you mean, the like Palantir, Airbnb, and so on?
Yeah.
So 15, 16. So Brian had some relationships for shares. And I started building a network with a couple of advisors in San Francisco that managed money for some of these, the smaller end of the Silicon Valley types.
Right.
And, you know, he goes, I need a vehicle to provide liquidity. So, you know, we united. He referred the clients to us. His clients would get liquidity. If they invested it with him or not, that's not my problem. We just did the business with them. We were also doing business with two very large entities, Shares Post, and now it's Forge Global, but I think it was Equidate at the time. They merged, but we were a big client of theirs. If something was being done illegitimate, FINRA regulated, SEC regulated, don't you think in 2017, 18, or 19, or 20, they would have said something to us? No, right?
Right.
We had a clean bill of health from the SEC every year until an election miraculously got stolen at 2 a.m. on November 3rd of 2020. So again, we had these relationships and we cultivated them. And then being that the Silicon Valley people are a little finicky on who they sell their shares to, we would have to sign confidentiality agreements. So we can't we can't disclose how much or how many shares they sold to us or anything else. So because of that, also, the government turned that against us also in the criminal case. You didn't disclose. The whole business is we're a private equity fund. It says it on the title of what type of business we are. The whole scope of the business is based on the privacy of the guy, of the person selling us the shares.
Right. I don't know a whole lot about the side of investing, to be honest with you, because I'm a really little guy. But I've always been curious about it. Yeah. So let me make sure I have this right. You're a private equity fund. The stock sellers to put stock from private companies into your fund want their privacy. So you have to sign confidentiality agreements. And then you can offer that stock for sale pre-IPO to your clients. Correct? I mean, that's
Correct.
the people that come to you and say, "Hey, I've got 30,000. I want to invest it in Palantir."
Yes, correct. That's exactly the way it worked. That's the way it worked. And they get a 130-page document with all the risks. Consult your attorney, consult your CPA, consult your financial advisor. This is something you want to do. A lot of them had already pre-spoken to their financial advisor before opening the relationship with us, because they were coming from a financial advisor. I mean, we were the only private equity fund listed on the Charles Schwab platform. That might be the most conservative investment platform in the planet. And they did a year of due diligence on us. And in 2019, from 2018 to 19, they did their due diligence on us, and they accepted our product. And then certain advisors were actually that worked with the Schwab platform were referring their business to us because of that reason.
And when you sell this stock to the clients that want to make these investments pre-IPO, there's fees associated with it that you have to put on because you have to operate the business and those kind of things, right? And they know about that, right?
Right. So a standard hedge fund practice is 2% a year just for managing money, but we're not managing money, so we did away with that fee, right? And then there's a 10% management fee. What are we managing? Something that doesn't trade yet. So we did away with that fee. So we did a markup up front to cover our expenses.
Okay.
And the rest of it was incentivized. So, Colonel, if you invested $10,000 with me, and if it was not over $10,000, I wouldn't make a profit as a business. So we took 20% of the profit that we made you. So if you gave me 10,000, I gave you back, and you made 10,000 with us, I gave you back 18,000 because I took my $2,000 profit off the 10 that I made you, not off your principal. Never was touched.
Right. And that's the rules, right? I mean, it's legal.
That's the rules, disclosed everywhere. But in the criminal trial, the Southern District of New York depicted us almost like we should have been a 501c. Oh, they shouldn't have made money because these deep reporting experts saying, like they pulled out a chart. This customer only made 100% on his money. He would have made 120% on his money if Straight Path didn't take their end.
Wait a minute. So you guys aren't supposed to be able to make any money?
No, that's the way it was painted to the jury. Imagine.
And you weren't a 501c3 or 4, right?
No. Imagine that's the story they painted.
You know, the average 501c3 CEO makes $250,000 a year in this country anyway. So what do you mean you're not allowed to make money? I mean, it's a ridiculous charge. It's ridiculous. It makes no sense whatsoever. And honestly, Michael, most of these do. Most of these don't. I mean, they just don't make any sense whatsoever. It's like, who are your victims? I got to take a break here in a little bit over a minute, but the question going into this is, did you have victims come and complain to law enforcement, SEC, the Department of Justice, file complaints against you?
No.
Not one?
Not one.
Were any of your investors not making a profit on their investments?
Not one.
So nobody was even taking losses, huh?
Nothing.
Wow.
I think on Lyft they broke even.
That's amazing.
And that was it. On Lyft they broke even and they got their money back, and that was it. We didn't make a dime on Lyft.
And before we go to the break, just a real quick question: does this business still exist, and the government's operating it?
Absolutely.
I want to go into that in the next segment because That's very confusing. I think people need to understand that as we continue our discussion with Straight Path. Michael Castellero. It's amazing. We'll be right back.
At a certain age, you stop chasing younger. You start protecting what helps you feel steady, strong, and well. Your body's collagen matters. It supports the structure of your skin, joints, and connective tissue. But as the years go by, your body needs more support from the inside. That's where Bella Grace Elixir comes in. Bella Grace Elixir combines Verisol collagen, the world's most clinically proven collagen, with asteryl astaxanthin and cat's claw in a proprietary blend designed to help support the processes that reconstruct collagen, while also offering antioxidant and anti-inflammatory effects. And this isn't just for women. It's for men and women who want to age with more confidence, more care, and a daily wellness routine that supports the body from within. One simple elixir, thoughtfully formulated for whole body wellness. Take care of the body that has carried you this far. Order Bella Grace Elixir today at melissahousebg.com.
I go down swinging like I tell my wife Nikki all the time, I'm a pest on X, and I'll do whatever I need to do to get in front of whoever I got to get in front of to
save your family.
Right.
Is there any way that you will be able to get your business back when it's found out that really what the Southern District of New York have done is nothing but a straight up fraud? And at the end of the day, you all, once again, there's no victims, no complaints, but the government has taken his livelihood. Alex, Marie Johnson, if they were listening right now to the show, what would you want them to know?
President, they did it to you. They're doing it to regular Americans. Just because your first term, you created a lot of American dreams. And they cheated you of a second term. And all they did is try to destroy everybody who followed you to an extreme. And unfortunately, I was in an industry that they used everything imaginable to weaponize the government against me. And I don't want a part of it for me. I want it for my wife and kids. You know, I roll with any punch, but if I get thrown in jail and they start coming after them, I'm not here to fight for them.
So we're asking President Trump to make sure that you get a full pardon from this, from being railroaded, from this corruption, from the weaponization of the New York justice system. That you and once again, remember that I've never seen a storm that did not end, and in the end, God always wins.
God wins. Welcome back to Truth Thursday on Worldview Tube and the Rob Maness Show. My guest is that man right there, Michael Castellero. Thankful that the Diamond and Silk Show had you on to send that message, Michael. So on your investors, when the government shut everything down, from your perspective, from the partners' perspective, what happened to the investors' dollars?
They first said that we were short $15 million out of $400 million that we raised, right? Which, by the way, it's about 3% of the whole fund, or 4%. So a normal Securities and Exchange Commission is supposed to issue corrective action and say you have 90 days to fix this 3 to 5% deficiency of the fund, if accounting error, whatever, right? By the way, It's a $14.6 million shortage that we still don't know where it is.
Hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
They said you're short. Okay, we're short. No problem. So our counsel tells them under the corrective action, they'll fix it. No. You're not doing anything. First, we need to negotiate this fund. So February 12th of 2022 turned into May 13th of 2022.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Ponzi-like news release came. Because not only they take your business, by the way, they make sure they destroy you on the press.
Right.
Right? You're not allowed to speak because I have an extra year in jail for not showing remorse.
Mm-hmm.
And not for voicing my First Amendment right, for doing things like this, like the Diamond and Silk episode. But they could destroy you at will and discredit your name to whatever they want. So they never issued that corrective action, which is something the SEC is supposed to do, number one.
Yeah.
But that's also for a regular investment advisor, not for us. We were everything they had from us was voluntary. That's the part that burns more because they took us giving them information to them taking it and using it as a weapon of evil against us.
Yeah. Amazing. The when they came after you, it doesn't sound like you've committed any crimes. What charges did they make, and what specific evidence did they bring against you?
In the criminal, you're speaking?
Yeah, in the criminal.
Okay. So the criminal they charged mostly because we were poking for communications between the SEC and the Southern District of New York. And we were pressing them for the communications. We wanted to know it because we need to be prepared, right? That's what lawyers tell you to do.
The discovery, right?
Right, discovery.
Yeah.
Right. What are you guys talking about? We need to be prepared what you guys think that we did or didn't do or whatever.
Right.
And they said, if you ask again, we're going to charge. Our lawyers asked again. And on November 29th, I believe, of 2023, they charged us criminally as investment advisors. They said that, conspiracy to commit fraud, wire fraud, obstruction of justice, 6 charges that are beyond laughable and beyond irrelevant. How am I obstruction of justice? I gave you everything voluntarily and now I obstructed? It's just like they went into a room and they threw a couple of darts against a bunch of charges on a wall and say, oh, look, we'll use these. And the judges at the Southern District of New York will just go through with that.
They just went along with it, huh?
Yeah, they don't care. They don't care. We could get into the trial and you could see how one-sided this judge was. I mean, we filed, I think it was about a 50-page document of motions eliminated that you filed right before the trial. And 90% of them went in favor of the prosecution. They even blocked the math of financial crime, Colonel.
They
if
blocked
this is the
what? The math?
The mathematics, right? If this is a so-called financial crime.
You weren't allowed to show the results of the work?
No, we weren't allowed to show how many people we made money for. Oh, we were not allowed to show the receivers making a ton of money off this. They blocked it. So they blocked their crime. It's almost like it's laughable, right? All of a sudden, President Trump saying it's the Russia hoax, and the Russia hoax was really under Hillary, right? It's like she's blaming him for what she did. It's the same thing. It's like and I've dealt with 2 of the same judges that went after him in that building. So it's sometimes my wife used to say, like, I could just change Trump and put Castellero on the news release and it'll be this, it reads exactly the same.
Yeah. It sounds very similar. Southern District of New York DA, whatever, Bragg, Letitia James, it doesn't matter. I think they're all criminally colluding with each other, which is probably illegal on their part, but they have the power. Even today, they still have enough power to protect themselves from accountability, don't they?
I know. It's unbelievable.
It is.
They're still doing it. It's unbelievable. They're still doing it.
I know. That's what's really unbelievable is they're able to get away with it now, even under an administration that is about to end this and hold people accountable. And we got to take our last break, Michael. When we come back, I want to talk some more about this and about the potential for appeals, what the status of you and your partners is from a sentencing perspective, and then the appeal for a pardon from the President of the United States. We'll be right back with Michael Castellero of Straight Path. Victim. They are victims of a weaponized government. It's unbelievable here in the United States of America. I'll be right back.
You've heard about the new wave of GLP-1 weight loss shots, but you've also heard about the side effects, the nausea, the fatigue, the risks of injecting synthetic hormones into your body. What if there were a better way, a natural way? Meet Bellamelt, the indulgent, sugar-free caramel treat that's quietly changing the way women take charge of their weight. Unlike injections that flood your body with synthetic GLP-1, Bellamelt works with your body, using potent botanicals and essential nutrients to help you naturally increase your own GLP-1, the same hormone that controls hunger, cravings, and fat burning. Activated the way nature intended. Just a delicious caramel melt 30 minutes before your meal. In a 10-week clinical study of its key ingredient, African mango, participants lost an average of 28 pounds, reduced body fat by over 18%, and trimmed nearly 7 inches off their waist. Visit melissahousebg.com today. That's melissahousebg.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Individual results may vary.
Mr. President, this is an urgent message and request for a pardon of innocence for the following 3 Americans: Michael Castellero, Brian Martinson, and Francine Lanaya. They are now all facing prison after a federal security fraud prosecution involving a private equity firm called Straight Path. The government alleged that Straight Path sold shares it didn't own, charged undisclosed markups, commingled investor funds, and misled investors about what the fund actually held. That's the government's theory. But during the trial, testimony from the SEC's own witness revealed something important. Straight Path Management was not, I repeat, not a registered investment advisor. It was an exempt reporting advisor, an ERA. And the SEC witness also confirmed that document requests sent to Straight Path Venture Partners were voluntary requests, meaning the firm was under no legal obligation to comply and there were no sanctions for declining. So the question becomes, how did a regulatory issue involving an exempt reporting advisor suddenly become a criminal fraud case? There's another critical fact. According to the defendants, no investors filed complaints, and investors in the fund actually made money on their investments. If that's true, it raises a fundamental question about how this prosecution unfolded. And there's more. Communications between the SEC and the Department of Justice, the very discussions that now may explain how the case moved from civil enforcement to criminal charges, are currently the subject of a Freedom of Information Act request. But those records are not scheduled to be released until after sentencing. If the government's case is sound, those documents should be released now. And if prosecutors accuse Straight Path of selling shares they didn't own, then the public deserves transparency about share accounting across the market, including unresolved questions about the total share count in the controversial MMTLP case, where investors have also raised concerns about phantom shares. Sunlight should never arrive after people are already in prison. Mr. President, the Constitution gives you the authority to review cases when serious questions remain. So today, we ask you 2 things. First, consider clemency for Michael Castellero, Brian Martinson, and Francine Lanaya while the full record is examined. And second, call for the immediate release of the communications between the SEC and the Department of Justice so the American people can see exactly how this prosecution came to be. Because justice requires transparency, and the country deserves the full truth.
Welcome back to the Rob Maness Show. It's Truth Thursday here on Worldview Tube, and this has been an incredible week, folks. We have covered every day weaponization victims of various from various areas of the government, not just in the financial world, but this case. These financial cases are very difficult, and if you're not following Steele News, Ann Vandersteel, you should. She's the best. That's why I use clips from her show on this case. But she's the best at analyzing these financial cases that I've seen, hands down. And this is the third or fourth one that I've done research on myself. So make sure you go follow her, and we're grateful for her putting her information out there because the message is to the President of the United States, sir, you can grant clemency and you can investigate these cases and you can pardon. That's all within your power here as the chief executive, and we implore you to do it. And not just this case, but every case needs to be looked at because they're all questionable at this point, and we can't be questioning our legal system at the level we are in this country continue to be a free and prosperous country at all. And I know you've got a lot on your plate, sir, but please take a look at it. My guest is Michael Castellero today. And Michael, what is man, I lost my train of thought on the question here. So what is the status of your sentencing, you and your partners?
So there was a lot of moving parts yesterday. We filed for bond on appeal and asking for a financial stay of all our assets. Mm-hmm. So we could go appeal this to the second district and continue to fight. We also filed for pardon applications via Peter Tickton, all three of us.
Okay.
And just yesterday, and I'll give you this is a very interesting. Judge Furman wants to make my pardon application part of the public docket, have it admitted to evidence. And the pardon office said, no, they don't. They shouldn't release my public information, my private sensitive information into the public docket, redacted or not. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a little bit of a battle. Let the two government agencies figure it out, which I think the more the judge opposes it, the more it shows how bad of a guy he truly is, right?
Now, judges are supposed to be making sure the law is equally applied to all citizens. What's his justification? What's the justification here for releasing your pardon information and all this sensitive information into the public docket?
My lack of remorse.
Your lack of remorse.
Yes, and that's what he used. So Fran got 8 years. Fran's 62 years old. So you're looking at another Tina Peters situation, right?
Right.
Brian's 50. He got 10 years. And he gave me 11 after speaking for about 35 minutes about I'm allowed to use my First Amendment right, yada, 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 yada. Mm-hmm. Yelled at me a couple of times saying, I don't care about your politics, and his face turning really, really, really red. Saying it 3-4 times. And then at the end, gives me the extra year because by me doing media, it shows how much of a lack of remorse that we committed by running this fraud that wasn't a fund. And those are his words. And I actually think he had a little TDS on the bench when he got a little red and was yelling at me because he was trying to bait me, I think, to almost combat him back. And I stayed very, very, very composed. I think it was God wired my mouth shut at that given moment so I wouldn't say something back because it's like you're being provoked and then you're being provoked and sometimes your emotions get the best of you, but I was able to stay
Save it for out on the steps of the courthouse with the media.
Yeah,
is what I would be
yes,
thinking
that's-
if I were you.
Yes.
So this is an Obama-appointed judge?
Yes.
Yeah.
Judge Jesse Furman blocked the
mhm.
deportation of Mahmoud Khalil last March of last year.
Yeah.
He was appointed while his brother was Obama's economic advisor. He was the economic advisor to Obama. So,
Mhm.
there's a couple of, handshaking, probably favors under the table that got him there.
Mhm.
And he thinks he walks on water. And
Yeah. And why do you think he's upset that people might think that his politics are getting in the way of his objectivity?
because, I'm sure they have a vested interest in the $25 million seizure that they want me to forfeit, and Brian and Fran, and the $115 million restitution that they want us to pay. Because who's it going back? It's not going back to the clients.
Mhm.
The
Yeah.
clients have been made whole or proven to be whole.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The clients are whole. I mean, there are no victims. Who's the
There are
victim
no-
here?
The victims are after the government got involved.
Mhm.
The victims, they brought in 4 witnesses during the criminal trial. The 4 witnesses they brought is one gentleman. So a big part of their case was that we used our salespeople or the referral agents and the brokerage firm that were selling our product. We're using hard sell boiler room tactics. First question to the first witness: how did you learn about Straight Path? Oh, I spoke to them like 6 or 7 times. Is that a hard sell? 6 or 7 phone calls. The man did research on the company. He was just bitter that the company was taken from us, but being that the word receiver was blocked out of the trial, that part was that's why they brought him in. The other 3 clients, friend or family member, made a lot of money on Palantir and Airbnb, and they sought us to work with us through their financial advisor or whomever. They wanted to invest in our fund because of that reason. Yet, but being that their money now is tied up behind the receivership, is the government gives them a free trip to New York on the taxpayer dime. And they get to go lie on the stand, and there's nobody there to hold them accountable for that. I just don't understand that. They should have a marshal outside the door, and when you perjure yourself on the stand, which we proved multiple people to do, they should be right there taking it.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. Well, I've only got about a minute left, Michael. Tell folks how they can help you guys and what the next steps are for.
Ton of prayers for President Trump to see this episode and grant us a pardon. I think that's where we're at. I mean, that's it. I mean, there's nothing else to ask at this point because September 10th is coming, and that's supposedly my surrender date.
Yeah. All right, sir. Well, we're praying for you, and we'll make sure that we get as much visibility on this episode as possible.
Thank you, Colonel.
Thank you,
Thank
Michael.
you for your time.
You bet. It's my pleasure. We're going to continue to do these weaponization shows to get as many of these victims as much publicity as our effort here can get them, and help them get to other media outlets, because this is ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous that this is happening still under the Trump administration, even though it was started under the Biden administration, obviously under nefarious conditions for nefarious purposes. I'll see you Monday on More War Monday. I'm Rob Manus on Worldview Tube.